doing the fourth episode of our little rumble, like a weekly rumble with uh, the myth, the legend, Luke the Wolf. Luke, how are you, man?
Hey, Endo, I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Thanks for joining. I don't think you need much introduction, but I'll try to fit in everything in one sentence. So Luke is the co-organizer of the BTCHEL conference in Helsinki, second edition coming up in September. Um, Also, the co-host of Bitcoin Infinity Show, and as of recently, the author of Defending Bitcoin. And I'll try to cover all these three pillars. But look, tell me, because you're the man, you're of many trades. Maybe some other thing, other contribution to the Bitcoin network that you do.
No, you hit the key points, and well, yeah, I think you can see I'm pretty busy these days. But the new thing for me in the last year, yeah, has been the book Defending Bitcoin, bringing my cybersecurity experience into my Bitcoin life. But prior to that, I've been really focusing on maybe the conviction deepening side of things with Bitcoin Infinity, which you're familiar with, and then also the BTCHEL conference, growing adoption in my local area. It's all important. It all contributes. So, and I just found an additional way to do that this time.
Amazing. No, I think it's fantastic that people find the time, the passion, and the energy to contribute to the network. And I've got a friend back in Poland who says, well, you've got a lot of proof of work that you did there, so there's a lot of hash power that you generated towards the Bitcoin, not necessarily in physical hashes, but your contributions don't go unnoticed. Look, where do we start? Which one do you want to go first? Because they're all exciting, and I put like a tiny agenda for us to kind of go through, but this is just me having a rumble, walking the talk with fellow Bitcoiners. So um, yeah, I wanted to kind of maybe touch base on like what's going on in Finland. Like how do you feel about the adoption and the vibes generally? Finland being in Europe and Europe doing funny things. What's your take on the chat control and decade and all those things that are kind of being dropped on us without us having much to say?
Yeah. Hey. Well, I mean, it was really right now it's bear market vibes, and so that's going to, of course, have a little bit of an effect. But I mean, the community is still going strong up here, and we're really trying to build more in terms of say the mining adoption and awareness about mining and energy at BTC Help. We're going to have three specific tracks. One is mining and energy, and that's pretty much self-explanatory. We also have a dedicated day. It's technically actually a separate event, the European Mining Summit, and this is invite only, and for essentially the mining industry in Europe to come together and well, since a lot of them are going to be at BTC Hell, just give them a separate space to have conversations and move things forward. But we also have quite a bit of mining and energy programming, tackling also quantum AI, things like this that are all related in that particular space. But then we have two other tracks. One is Nordic sovereignty, and this one is interesting. This is about kind of how the Nordics can use Bitcoin as a tool to become less dependent on, say, the US, the EU, and really just take back sovereignty in a way that we as individuals have started to do ourselves. And so that's a track that it covers a lot of things. It's about both individual adoption and should nation states take Bitcoin on the balance sheet. What can the Nordics do specifically? And then the final track is human rights, and this is one that's mostly just because that people kind of need their own convincing on these sorts of topics, right? It's not necessarily straightforward to convince someone in a place that's doing well or reasonably well that hey, maybe you need some hedge against inflation or whatever it is. Figuring out the problem can be a difficult challenge, and the human rights angle is something that people in the Nordics care about quite a lot. And I mean, I think everyone who gets into this stuff really understands the human rights benefits, but highlighting it for newcomers is what we're also doing. So yeah, basically with BTCHEL, we're just trying to hit these major themes and make it more so that the the um, the things that resonate with people in the area get out there, and so we're also still hoping, of course, to have plenty of people come from abroad and show what the Bitcoin community looks like around the world, around Europe, around the world. But we're focusing on those things because that's what people in Finland and the Nordics care about, and how we hope to get the message out in an effective way.
Awesome. I want to anchor to the Nordics and the human rights connection and the fact that this is important thing. Obviously, we've got the Oslo Freedom Forum, and as you say, these are the things that probably people in the Nordic countries in Scandinavia are treating seriously. And like my question is, if people are treating that seriously, like at what point do you think people will push back? Or will people push back against some stuff that is infringing our freedom of speech, like the chat control and those things?
Sure. Well, honestly, chat control goes outside of the Bitcoin space, and I know people from kind of, yeah. Sorry, I ignored this whole half of the question. People from kind of the say normie land know what chat control is. We have Lyudmila Kozlovska, who's really big on the anti chat control movement, and she's going to give a keynote at BTCHEL. But yeah, it just in general, even people that I meet in my fiat life know about chat control, don't think it's a good idea. People in, say, the cybersecurity space don't even think it's realistically enforceable. Either I think these apps are going to have to just leave the European market if it's mandated that they do this scanning. So things like Signal, or for example, like say WhatsApp. I think the nuance with the new chat control thing. Let's just be clear about this: is that the new thing that's being voted on. I think it's even being voted on this morning. Maybe it's even done. Is that the one thing that companies can voluntarily choose to do this monitoring and provide the data. I don't know what's the point of that exactly, but maybe it gives some kind of regulatory cover to do so. And so things like, say, WhatsApp and Telegram, which are these centralized messaging services, I think these ones maybe there is a little bit more reason to get off of those because they are this centralized system where the companies can look in. Now, something like Signal, which is reliably, verifiably end-to-end encrypted, and they don't have a backdoor and things like this. Well, that's much better, right? But we need to pursue alternatives if we want to realistically avoid this chat control. And I think voluntary is way less worse than mandatory monitoring of chat messages, but it's still bad. And yeah, like all of the purported effectively this is saving the children stuff, it's all just excuses to enact more control. And Decade is a similar story. Like at BTC Prague, Francis Pouliot gave a fantastic keynote. I actually just retweeted about it just before here. At like fantastic keynote, just fantastic keynote, and I was lucky enough to view it live, and really just it took the whole conference by storm. Just having the guts to go and fight this major regulation. If you don't know what this decade is, it's basically a regulation that all cryptocurrency exchanges need to share data about their customers together, and well, that creates just one massive honeypot. That this is from the cybersecurity world, like a piece of data that if a hacker gets, it's going to be extremely valuable for them. And this is just really not a good thing to exist. And the people who have created it don't understand that they're putting their own citizens at risk. France has uh, it's not quite up to hundreds this year, I guess, but they have dozens, tens and dozens of physical attacks against cryptocurrency holders, not just Bitcoin holders. I do kind of make this point a little bit that usually the people more involved in like all of the cryptocurrencies are a little bit more of an attractive target because often they're a little more flashy with their crypto and things like this. But even if you report, say, your Bitcoin to
the Lambo that easy, yeah.
Yeah, you can't hide the Lambo that easily. Yeah, so a humble Bitcoiner might be a little less likely to be targeted, but still, if you're on a list somewhere and they're going down that list, yeah, be careful and don't let your information get out there. And so Bull coming in and fighting against this decade is just absolutely fantastic. We're also going to have Bull is going to have a big presence at BTCHEL as well. Francis will give a keynote, and we have a few others speaking and coming from Bull. They're fantastic. I can't speak highly enough from them. They're one leg of their DNA is from my hometown, Calgary, Alberta. So it's yeah, good ties to Bull over there, which I enjoy. But yeah, maybe that
Absolutely.
answers your
No,
question.
I
Yeah,
think yeah,
full depth of view.
it does, and I feel the same. I feel that when I started putting connecting the dots together and realizing, okay, while Europe is asleep, while we got all those regulations kind of dropped of us. In the Netherlands, they're introducing unrealized gains tax of 36%. Some crazy narratives going on, and here we go. We are in French or company originating from France, where you have all those tragedies with people being attacked and extorted the value from. And we've got the French company that is actually saying, no, hold on a second, we're going to fight this fight. It's not going to be easy, but we are picking this this fight, and we're doing that for a reason. So shout out to Francis and to Bull Bitcoin. Yeah, you can find them on Nostr and on Twitter as well. And I think it's worthwhile, contributing some sats to this cause. I up some few sats there as well. I think it's the fight that we should really vote with our money for. So I really like Bull Bitcoin already more, even though I still liked them before. I think that them coming from France and starting the revolution, fighting back, basically the first kind of entity in the Bitcoin space to fight back, to push back against something. I find it quite a milestone.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify, like they're based in France from their European arm, but they're a Canadian company originally,
Yeah.
and the founders were Francis from Quebec and Dave Bradley from Alberta, and so it's this kind of merger of these two sides, these two parts of Canada, and I think their official headquarters is still in Calgary,
Okay.
which is my original hometown. So a lot of connection there from my side personally, and I love just seeing what they're doing. And Canada has a lot of things wrong with it, but Bull Bitcoin might be the best thing to come out of Canada.
Amazing, dude. I feel like Canada is not a country. I mean, it's a massive population, is fairly small compared to other countries, and it feels like there's a lot of Bitcoiners. I mean, for me, it feels like there's a lot of Bitcoiners from Canada. Am I biased here, or do you think that there is something going on? Like, is there more awareness generally in Canada than in Finland, for example?
Yeah, well, it's parts of Canada, right? And I'm most familiar with Alberta, which is where I was from. But the thing was, I never was into Bitcoin. I became a Bitcoiner after leaving Canada, or in the process of leaving Canada. And it was only actually since then, going back to Alberta to visit family, that I got connected with the communities there. But I think Canada has some unique things, or every country has their own problems, and the uniqueness is per country kind of thing. But Canada's special system is that the center of the country, the largest provinces, Ontario and Quebec, they can basically dictate to the entire rest of the country what goes on. It's a regional issue, and where I'm from, Alberta, is very much affected by the central decisions. And I mean, this is a parallel to the EU, I think, where the largest countries and the decision making from the central body is able to dictate to all of the countries in the union the rules that they must abide by, and so it's the same thing there. Alberta is the place where the oil and gas comes from in Canada, and every country needs reliable energy. Canada has their own, but has stubbornly refused to utilize it for years and years, decades, really. And yeah, Alberta is getting a little bit fed up. And honestly, I think what we're looking at is that a lot of people are starting to be interested in independence from Alberta. So from Canada, sorry, for Alberta. And so the way Bitcoin fits in here is just that Bitcoin as the freedom money. It's the natural pairing to people who want to take more control away from the central governments, the centralized governments. And Quebec, the French speaking part of Canada, has its own kind of history with this nationalism. But the I think where and I would Francis is a smart guy. I would assume he would agree with me on this. Quebec has its own problem of effectively not creating its economy out of something real. It has a massive bureaucracy, massive government, and doesn't have many natural resources that it exploits, or that's the wrong word, utilizes to its benefit, right? To the benefit of its citizenry, and so it takes in tens of billions of Canadian dollars every year in so-called equalization payments that mostly come from Alberta and these other provinces that are producing things with resources. And so Quebec has its own problem to deal with if it were to become independent from Canada, and that it would need to fix its economy and become less dependent on effectively the handouts of others. So this is absolutely something that Bitcoin can help with, right? Just people save their wealth in Bitcoin and use it to help to build sovereignty.
Yeah,
That's
I want to
huge.
jump in here. Is there much, or forgive my ignorance, but is there any Bitcoin mining going on in Canada?
There's definitely some in Western Canada. It's a very good place for example, there's a part of the oil and gas ecosystem where they have to get rid of say natural
Right.
gas that comes from oil wells. It's called
Yeah.
flaring off, and there's a lot of great projects there that are basically capturing this flare gas, and that's fantastic. Alberta is also starting to accept data centers as well, and the thing is, the regulations around data centers tend to also affect Bitcoin mining. Actually, Finland is having a bit of a negative situation right now with that regulation for data centers is also impacting Bitcoin mining here, and some taxation looks to be going in that's going to be fairly negative for the Bitcoin mining industry in Finland, and we're hoping to combat that from a regulatory angle and all this, like advocating for more sensible policy. But yeah, so there is quite some Bitcoin mining in Canada. There are tons of opportunities as well. There's hydropower out east in Canada that could be utilized for Bitcoin mining, but it's all a process. I don't think Canada is the same degree of Bitcoin mining hotspot as the United States, for
Right.
example, with similar
And
conditions.
when it comes to the industry's understanding or maturity, the mining industry, your perspective, you're in Finland, Nordic countries. What's it like there compared to Canada? Which one's more ahead?
Well, I mean, this is a hard question, right? Regulations are different everywhere, and I mean, I would say the EU has some real challenges with regulations in general. Like the saying is that the US innovates, the EU regulates, and China duplicates, something like this. And it's true. Like European Union is very much into regulating and is tending to put taxes on AI data centers, and they map kind of Bitcoin mining as a sort of a type of data center, and so that can all get jumbled. And then there are, of course, the regulations on Bitcoin itself, capital gains rules, and this and that. But I think the main thing is that when there are secondary uses for the Bitcoin mining, such as heat reuse, this is always
Mhm.
something that makes it a little bit less expensive to run a Bitcoin mining operation. And so there's quite a bit of heat reuse here in Finland. And then and that flare gas is another kind of way to do it that is going on. I know in Canada and other places, and the other thing too is that the reliability of energy and the price of energy is also important. And so Finland has embraced nuclear power, whereas plenty of other places in Europe haven't done so, right? And so Finland has relatively reliable base load, but it's not the cheapest in the world, especially because it has to be interconnected with so much renewable energy load effectively. So yeah, it's a mixed bag at the moment. I think the opportunities for heat reuse are very good in Finland, and in Canada and other places. I think the main thing is to drive for those energy opportunities that let mining operate at the lowest cost possible, and that's going to be, yeah, things like this flare gassing or heat reuse or stranded energy or other things like that. That's going to be more of a economic play than say at the moment. It might be more economical to just run an AI data center than it is to run a Bitcoin mine that doesn't have any of these secondary characteristics.
sure passion and into speed and that probably moment for yourself. I mean, I think for many others as well. From your sort of experience, how did your life change? Compared before Bitcoin and after Bitcoin. Are there like is that the same? But yeah, I got this new hobby, you think, or is that more than that?
I mean, for I was going through a lot of changes anyway. Before I into Bitcoin, I was starting to move across the world, and so that's its own change on its own. There's definitely a bit of a before Bitcoin and after Bitcoin, but it's also before Finland, after Finland, and Bitcoin has taken a lot of my time and attention, rightfully, because I think for many of us who see Bitcoin as this say tool for freedom, really, uh, more so than just money. It becomes really important to me. It became really important, and I wanted to share this and help grow adoption and help advocate for it. And so, yeah, I definitely have had Bitcoin take me in a lot of places, and I really just feel like I have an obligation to move it forward where I can. And this is why sometimes I think the internal fights that we might have on X or whatever it is are kind of annoying, if I'm honest. It's tough. The direction of Bitcoin development, things like mining centralization, all of these things are legitimately important. Bitcoin needs to wrestle with major issues, and not shy away from them. That's important. But at the
Yeah.
same time, we've got all of these political regulatory threats, which you've talked about. We've talked about here already, and just growing adoption is a big thing, right? Like bringing more people into the ecosystem is the important thing for me, and I really want to focus on that more so in the after this whole soft fork thing. Is resolved. I want to get back to just focusing on building Bitcoin adoption and moving forward in a way that helps Bitcoin grow and do what we all hope it's going to do, which is free the world from financial oppression.
So another month to go.
Yes, exactly. Did you want to
Okay.
go there and discuss a little
Not,
bit, or?
not. I'll leave it out for now. But I've got something different to anchor to. I sympathize with a lot of things that you said, and I can see them and relate to them in my own situation. Um, and obviously, I'm doing Bitcoin walks. It's something that became kind of part of my life. So every Saturday, I just go for a walk meet with Bitcoiners, and it's been fantastic, transformational experience. We have an amazing community, and it's kind of addictive. And I get to talk to a lot of people and get different perspectives. So it helps me, put the bigger picture maybe quicker and faster than someone who doesn't have that experience. And I'm also passionate, and I like talking to people. I like orange peeling people. So whenever an opportunity comes, especially with the friends and family and people who are close to me, I would say, look, I'm not telling you to put your money, like all your money, into Bitcoin. I'm asking you to learn this technology because you might need it. Like might need it useful, and it's important that you know how to use it with confidence and basically, I keep on repeating different things from different angles, trying to push the orange peel a little closer. And I keep getting, like, from some of my good friends, like, dude, like, we're not interested. Like, just stop it. Like, are you obsessed? Are you in some kind of sect? Look, tell me, are you in a sect or a cult? What's going on there?
Yeah, I hear you, and I have the same thing. I mean, I don't push with people who aren't ready for it, who aren't interested. And I mean, with my writing this book, for example, I told my colleagues at my fiat job, hey, I've got this thing coming out. You're going to see posts about it on LinkedIn, because I'm going after some of the people in that part of my network. Right,
Yeah.
we're not all on X, believe it or not. And so I had a few people reach out and say, "Hey, I'd love a copy when it comes out. You know, I'm interested." But most people aren't, and so they know this about me. They know they can come talk to me if they're curious, and I have this happen. But I don't think it's worth my personally putting a ton of effort into to you know, kind of forcing the orange pill down kind
Yeah,
of thing. I think it's much easier taken voluntarily, and of course everyone gets it when at the price they deserve. You know, so it's and that's harsh but true. If you're not ready for it, it's really going to get you there. And so I'm just open and available, and I'm focusing on other avenues of adoption and ways to contribute in the Bitcoin space.
amazing. I talk a lot with some friends here as well, and we got to realize that we will never get 100% of people to adopt Bitcoin. Probably we'll never get 50% of people to adopt Bitcoin, but it's still fine. We'll basically, people will notice, and people will have to come to this asset by themselves at the time and the price they deserve, as you said. So some things cannot be forced or changed. Time is the only thing that is speeding things up here. So yeah, as long as the fiat's being printed, and every 10 minutes we've got a predictable monetary policy ticking around, then I think we're fine, and those people will come over. Look, again, coming back to BTCHEL. So first of all, I came to Helsinki last year. It was my first time in Finland, and first time in your conference as well. I loved it. It was amazing. I thought it was a fantastic conference. Great atmosphere. Very smooth execution. How did you pull it off? There was amazing lineup of speakers. The who is Satoshi panel was like mind blowing. Tell me about it. What was give us some backstage views on that.
Hey, thanks so much, and I know the entire team appreciates that comment. And of course, it's not just me. We have a great team of people who are handling tons of different aspects of the execution. We couldn't do it without any of them, and so I'm just one. The speaking, the schedule is my area, but of course we all basically help each other out where we can. I mean, for first time conference organizers, yeah, I'm really proud that we were able to pull it off so smoothly. And I think we just relied on the experience of those people who had been involved in conferences and events more. So we did have a professional event organizer on the team. We still do. We couldn't do it without her at all. She doesn't like the spotlight, so that's okay. But I've been going to the Bitcoin conferences for a long time. We have Knut Svanholm as an advisor, and he of course can talk about kind of the speakers' experience, and so that's how I think we were able to make things work so well for speakers and put together a good schedule. We really put a lot of thought into that. This year's schedule is going to be announced actually tomorrow, so we're launching our agenda. BTCHEL web tomorrow. There's still some open slots and all this because that'll fill out soon. But we've got most of the. I think we've got 67 speakers signed up. I was just looking at the final numbers there, at least for right now. So yeah, we've got a big agenda coming this year, and I think we were also able to just. Make it so that everything that we've learned from being at conferences, what we would want to see, make it a good experience for the attendees. This year, we're also making it so that the easier to get to. It's right next to the main stage. We have a different venue this time because the previous one wasn't available anymore. But the new venue we have is fantastic. I really love it. It's called the Cable Factory, and it's this it's an old factory right next to the sea, and so it's a really nice setting. And I used to live in the area, and really love the spot. So I think everyone's going to enjoy it, and lots of fantastic things nearby, a little bit closer to the center than the other one as well. So yeah, really excited this year, and yeah, I mean, I hope you're coming again, Endo.
I'll do my best. I have to juggle, move between three countries and sort of family affairs, but it's on my radar. I know there's a Bitcoin Walk side event, which my colleague Bree will be leading. But if I can, I will definitely come because I really enjoy the time. This time, I will not make a mistake, and I will stay longer for for the sauna experience as well. And yeah, because I know that there's a lot of it probably makes sense to come, day or two earlier, or stay later, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. We have some sauna side events, and we're calling it like the Nordic Bitcoin Festival. Even so we have a page up on Setlantis. Sorry, I don't know the link offhand, but you can find it on Atlantis. All of the side events that are happening. You're right. There's Bitcoin Walk. There's going to be a Bitcoin Run. I think we're going to arrange, and plenty of other things going on. So come for the week is what I suggest. As I mentioned, we have this European Mining Summit also going on a couple of days before the conference, and so there's
So that's
there's a
23rd, is that 23rd, the European Mining Summit?
Yes, 23rd
Okay.
exactly. So yeah, I think basically if you're kind of on the inside with the mining thing, you want to be in town by the 22nd sort of thing. But we're also going to have like an official after party, and I forget what was also moving. Yeah, this founders sauna. I think people kind of tend this one. It's that's a little more of a focused affair on kind of building startups and things like this. But of course the fun part is that it's held at a sauna. So yeah, come and check out the entire week.
Amazing, amazing. I look forward to it. I actually am based in Madeira, and there is no good sauna in Madeira. So I've got a big project coming up. Let's see if I can pull it off. Build a sauna in Madeira. That'd be something.
There you go. That
Uh,
that'd be fantastic. Like I can't wait for the next time I get to visit. I've Bitcoin Atlantis was fantastic, and big shout out to Andre for putting that together. But I guess he's decided to make that a once every 4 years or so event, and so I think it's yeah, it's definitely a little bit more of a place that I want to get back to, and
yeah,
I hope that the next edition of Bitcoin Atlantis to maybe contribute to that, and because it was a fantastic event, bringing people together from both sides of the Atlantic, and so yeah, I'm just really thrilled everything that's happening over on Madeira, and maybe we can still even get, say, Andre or some others from Madeira again to come speak at this year's BTCHEL, but let's see.
amazing, amazing. No, I agree. Madeira is a special place, and the fact that the conference here happens, every 4 years, every halving, I think it's a nice touch. I understand from like logistical perspective why they wouldn't want to sign up for doing that, every year. At some point, like this year, you're in the bear market and you have to put a lot of energy, blood, sweat, and tears, and then capital to pull something off, and then you don't know what's it going to be. Whereas, every 4 years, I think it's for a place like Madeira, it makes sense. It makes sense. Um, awesome, cool. Let me segue from here to your latest endeavor, and that is defending Bitcoin. So I know that's the new book that was released a month ago or so.
Yeah,
Um,
about a month ago now. Yeah.
so defending Bitcoin, industrial grade cybersecurity for the monetary grid. I haven't read it. I know what's it about roughly, and did my kind of overview of what it's about. I spoke with a friend who's reading it, and he said like it's really good because it's you're writing it for people who are familiar with the classic technology risk assessments and cybersecurity, from projects. Can you run us through it and just tell us the story of how your professional experience from years of your work is now blending with Bitcoin, and how that book is composed, what people can take away from it?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. And well, hey, so this book, the subtitle "Industrial Grade Cybersecurity for the Monetary Grid." That's a little bit to appeal to. Yeah, this crowd that might be a little bit unfamiliar with Bitcoin and get them in the door, so to say. But yeah, it's for two audiences. One is it's for Bitcoiners. This is a cybersecurity book for Bitcoiners, and I really believe that every Bitcoiner can benefit from reading this book. And so I'm also trying to make quite a lot of the information in Defending Bitcoin available on the website defendingbitcoin.com. So check that out, because yeah, honestly, uh, I want the information out there. The point isn't to pay all that. If you want to support me, I appreciate if you buy it, but I want the information out there for Bitcoiners, right? But then the other audience is people who are kind of more familiar with this cybersecurity or tech angle, people that I've worked with for a decade plus, and so I've written it from the language and with the vocabulary of cybersecurity risk analysis, and that's also something that can make it fresh for Bitcoiners as well. It's not the same angle that you'll get from Bitcoin Standard or Mastering Bitcoin or something like this. It's a different approach, and it's about risk, and risk is the cyber, for just a definition. Security is the management of digital risk, which means the likelihood of something bad happening and the impact of something bad happening, and managing those things together. So what I've done is I've taken an industrial standard cybersecurity framework with the fantastic, memorable name ISA IEC 62443. They couldn't have picked something that rolls off the tongue better. But I've taken that framework, and it's what we use in the industry. There are quite a few industries that use that as a compliance basis. So it's that's all sounds boring and everything, but it's really quite a robust a framework for understanding cybersecurity and applying it to critical infrastructure. So this is the key thing that I think is makes this book different, is that I make the case that Bitcoin should be considered the same as other forms of critical infrastructure, those things that we can't do without to keep our daily lives running. That's things like making sure that water runs through our water pipes, electricity keeps running through the grid, we get food into grocery stores, things like this, but also payment systems. Payment systems are universally considered to be critical infrastructure, and Bitcoin is becoming this global payment system that people are using to send their value anywhere in the world in 10 minutes, right? As opposed to the 2-3 week final settlement and all the hassle of wire transfers and things like this. Plus, Bitcoin is getting embedded into the mining ecosystem, like we talked about earlier, right? And so that's just what is contributing to this idea of the monetary grid. And I'm not one of those people that's going to say that Bitcoin is energy. I'm not making a statement like that, but Bitcoin is getting connected to the energy ecosystem and is grounded in physical reality through the Bitcoin mining. And so the way the reason why this critical infrastructure is important is that we in cybersecurity tackle critical infrastructure differently than traditional cybersecurity, which is more concerned with keeping your data confidential. There's a concept in cybersecurity called the CIA triad, no relation to the US agency. It stands for confidentiality and availability. Confidentiality means keeping secrets safe, keeping things that need to be private from people who want to get at that information. And so this is things like keeping your passwords safe, keeping your accounts safe, keeping your accounts from getting hacked, keeping someone from stealing your funds. Integrity means tampering effectively, or
Mhm.
defense against tampering. And if you were hacked, if you got an account hacked and they changed your information and start to use it to scam people, something like this, that would be something that is violating integrity, right? And those two tend to go hand in hand, confidentiality and integrity. But there's the third pillar of availability, means that system stays available, it stays running, it keeps doing the thing that it needs to do. And okay, your email address, or even say your bank account, those things, if they're unavailable for a little bit of time, a short period of time, you're not going to notice so much as if your ability to have electricity, you notice that right away, right? Or if you don't have running water, you notice that right away. And
I'm just when you say that, I'm thinking of Kenobi giving a lecture in at BTCHEL about what happened in Spain. Please continue.
exactly. No, it's exactly the same idea that you notice this stuff immediately if you if something goes down, right? And so maybe bank account wasn't the best analogy there, because you notice your bank account going down as well if you need to pay for something, right? Bitcoin is actually sort of similar to that, right? You can live with Bitcoin kind of just churning away in the background, and you don't notice an issue until you need to go pay. Have you ever had the case where you go send a Bitcoin transaction, but then suddenly the network takes a while to find a block, or you somehow got bumped into the second or third block because you didn't
Yeah.
look at the mempool, things like this, right? And so it takes a while. It's a little bit slower, and you kind of notice that, right? But Bitcoin is sort of built like that. TikTok next block, and the fees sort of set what you need to get into the next block, and you can decide if you're patient or not, right? But the whole system has to keep running. That's the point. Every 10 minutes, keeping that 10-minute average, that needs to keep happening, right? And so the availability of Bitcoin is the most critical thing. And next up would be the integrity as well, because the keeping the integrity of the cryptography is really essential in Bitcoin. And so making sure that those two things are constantly working is the angle that I take with defending Bitcoin. Now, that doesn't mean confidentiality isn't important. For the individual Bitcoin user, keeping your private key confidential is the entire game. If your private key gets leaked, your Bitcoin is gone, period. Right? So there are a lot of strategies to making sure that you keep your private key safe. The first three threat chapters, the book is organized in terms of, first of all, an introduction to Bitcoin from both a technical and monetary perspective for those unfamiliar with Bitcoin. Then it goes into a look at cybersecurity principles. First of all, general cybersecurity that applies everywhere, but then the more specific industrial cybersecurity. And then finally pulls it all together with the thesis that Bitcoin is critical infrastructure and how we can apply a framework based on that. Then there are 10 threat chapters, and I don't want to pretend that there's only 10 categories of threats to Bitcoin, but I have to make some decisions, so the book isn't 1,000 pages or something like this. It's a comfortable 450, so that's not bad. But the thing is, it's organized into 10 chapters, and the first three threat chapters are the threats to the individual, your Bitcoin, and the first one talks about the risks of leaving your Bitcoin on an exchange, and really it tries to steer you towards taking self custody. But then we talk about all of the risks you face when taking self custody, and this isn't to make it all scary, right? This is just to say that here's what you can face, and here's how you can be prepared, right? The entire book, Defending Bitcoin, is all about empowering everyone, you the reader, to be able to handle the security threats that are out there in Bitcoin and to be more aware. So it's supposed to be empowering and make it so that you can handle those challenges yourself. And the third individual chapter is all about privacy, by the way, which is a little what we talked about there with those physical attacks and things like this, staying off of the radar of people who might want to do you harm. I really recommend Max Hillebrand's Praxeology of Privacy book for this as well. That came out about a month before mine did. You should have him on, by the way, if you haven't. He's fantastic, and basically it's an entire 500-page book about the same things that I cover in one short chapter. So really recommend looking at that if you want to dig into privacy and why that's important. So these threats to the individual and keeping your individual Bitcoin safe, that's the part that's all about confidentiality and keeping your secrets safe. But the network level stuff is where it takes a turn into making sure that the system stays running and it's robust and it's decentralized. And so this covers things like mining decentralization, threats that you face to nodes and node decentralization, governance, arbitrary data, things that may be a little bit uncomfortable topics and a little more internal topics as well, which is why we cover them a little bit later in the book. But yeah, this is basically the angle that I take, that Bitcoin is critical infrastructure and we should defend it the way we defend critical infrastructure in a cybersecurity sense. So that's the book in a nutshell.
Amazing. I've got this feeling that the next thing that comes to mind is a matter of national security and the concept of software by Jason Lowery. So I wonder if your book somehow catches on to aspect, or is that something that maybe you've got some opinions about?
There's some overlap for sure.
or a sequel for a book. I don't know. Like, well, you tell me.
Well, no, I mean, I've read software, and I mean, Jason's thesis is interesting. I don't know necessarily the extent to which he's right. He's making a really specific claim about Bitcoin's role in the future, right? And okay, maybe it's going to turn out to be true one day, but I certainly don't think it's being taken into practice at the moment. Maybe I don't want to say that I'm being naive or anything like this. Maybe we do have a nation state war bubbling under the hood here, but I really don't think Bitcoin is on anyone's radar at that particular point. Like, you see Trump just making meme coins and scamming people, right? I think that's what he thinks Bitcoin is all about at the moment. So, but we'll see where it goes. And the thing is, his thesis also does have quite a lot to do with security. And the thing is, what the approach that I take is it's all descriptive, right? It's looking at Bitcoin and trying to be honest about what are the security risks that you, the individual, might face, or we as the network might face. And it also takes into account the external threats, right? The political and regulatory environments. What happens if the electrical grid goes down, because that has a massive impact on Bitcoin itself. Quantum, AI, all of these things that people are worried about these days, right? And just looking at all of that and trying to come up with as complete of a picture as possible to say, here's what the threats are, here's what you can do to make the risk lower. This is what we do in cybersecurity. We try to apply what are called controls to reduce risk in either the likelihood metric or the impact metric, because the formal definition of risk is likelihood times impact. How likely is it for something to happen versus how bad is it if something bad happens? And if you stub your toe, that's a high likelihood but low impact event, right? Pretty low. But if you get struck by lightning, that's an extremely low likelihood but pretty darn high impact. Usually you don't survive, right? So the whole thing there is that you try to reduce one of those metrics, or both. Sometimes it's possible that a control reduces both, but yeah. So either you make it less likely for something to happen, or you make it less bad if something were to happen, right? And so I go through that, try to make it actionable. The whole point is there's always something that you can do. I think to contrast it with the software thesis, it's an interesting idea. It's certainly interesting to think that nation states might get involved, but I don't think there's much in terms of practicality for the individual there. And defending Bitcoin is all about what's practical for you. There's always something you can do, and there's always something that I think is empowering. I really do want to leave the reader at the end feeling better about the state of Bitcoin. There's all this stuff that might sound scary, but there's always something that you can do to make it better.
So it's not entirely pure Bitcoin here. What I want to say, but from risk assessment perspective, we were discussing something with friends here about using, let's say Aqua Wallet, which also has stable coins, Tether, and that becomes something that right now maybe we don't consider like a serious threat, but at some point, there will be an option for USDT to be frozen, to be basically permissioned money. So in that sense, I think that we're getting into this territory. It's not pure Bitcoin, but it's adjacent to Bitcoin, and there are many people who are trying to maybe sell the top and buy the dip, whatever. Yeah, people do what people do, and I'm just saying that when it's your Bitcoin on chain, there's nobody who can mess around with that. Once you move that to another token on somebody else's private chain, maybe there will be some legislation coming after you, with that regard.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. And I think Aqua in particular utilizes stablecoins in a pragmatic way. I'm a big fan of Aqua. I also like Bull Wallet. They basically have the same DNA. Bull actually is the Aqua is based on Bull, as I understand it, and Bull doesn't have the stablecoin support. So you pick what you like.
But
Although
it supports liquid, right? It supports liquid, I think.
Well, and I actually have a story about this. So during BTC Prague this year, the Bolts API actually went down right in the middle of the morning of, I think it was the first main conference day
Both
at
exchange.
well, so yeah, the Bolts exchange, which is how the swaps are done on
Yes.
both Bull and Aqua,
Aqua.
went down. And so swapping between Lightning and Liquid and main chain through Bolts, that all went down. And the thing is, under the hood, both Aqua and Bull, you hold your coins on Liquid. You either hold them on chain Bitcoin, or you hold them on chain Liquid, and you
Yeah.
make Lightning payments by swapping out through Bolts. And so it takes a little bit of time, but they're actually quite fast at that particular swap thing now. And it can be done very, very quickly. But if Bolts is down, you're kind of screwed. It was really quite something. Like we had people trying to pay with Bull Wallet, with Aqua Wallet, they couldn't do it. I was using Bull Wallet under the hood to be able to take cash payments. Not to get too in the weeds for it, but if we took cash, I would pay with my own Bull Wallet and take the cash,
Yeah.
so that we kept everything on all the accounting on Bitcoin, which was cool. But I couldn't do that, and so Bull was down, and I actually walked over to the Bull booth and was like, guys, what's up?
What's going on?
And yeah, turns out it was Bolts that was down the entire time. And so that's a little bit of a single point of failure, if I'm honest, that Bolts is turning into a piece of the infrastructure that is getting to be a little bit critical. And I hope there are some alternatives that show up. Nothing against Bolts. So I really I usually am extremely happy with what they do, and I'm a big fan of what they've done. It's a massive innovation, but it just shows that decentralization is something we need everywhere. We can't depend on any one service.
Alternative.
At the moment, I'm not
Like.
sorry. I think we had some delay there, but I'm not aware of an alternative that does the same swapping in exactly the same way. You have to do these atomic swaps and keep liquidity on both sides and things like this. I'm sure it's really complicated, but Bolts makes it easy. You can send. You can take your Lightning out on chain and then pipe it to Liquid, right? If you want to do that, but then that sort of defeats the point of using the Liquid intermediary. So yeah, I'm not aware of an alternative, but I do think it would be worthwhile for there to be another swap provider. I think that would be good. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, agree. Awesome, cool. Look, we've got a few more minutes left, so I'm going to jump to the next point, which I say, I put it in our loose agenda, and that was just building in the bear markets. It's a very loose sentence, but I want to kind of pick your brains on like what you're bullish on, what's your latest thing that you found that, or you have a lot of hope about.
Well, the interesting thing here is that I'm a big proponent of AI and utilizing AI to grow and build things that enhance productivity, enhance human time. I think AI is right up there with Bitcoin in terms of its potential to change humanity. I do think that AI has a big part, is a big reason why the bear market is even the way it is at the moment. A lot of capital has gone towards AI, so there's pros and cons. I think it's a bubble from that perspective, that capital is just really like going in there and it's not all going to return properly. But the technology isn't a bubble. I'm quite convinced about that. It's super powerful, and just learning to utilize that in ways that help. Like we've been able to do a lot of work at BTCHEL. It's been made a lot easier by just staying organized with AI. Like you don't have to let AI do everything for you, but you can let it keep you organized, and that's been a huge time saver just in terms of keeping track of who I'm talking to and all the projects and plans that we've got going on, and in other parts, right, like podcasting. doing research for writing, things like this. It's just one of these things that you want to harness. I've built a couple of little personal apps that aren't like a gym tracker, for example. I'm trying to get healthy again, and so it's just stuff like that, like
Yeah.
being able to use and create something that is tailored to you. And I think a lot of products are going to be able to use AI in the Bitcoin ecosystem. I've actually got a bit of a light thesis comparison to the proof of work of Bitcoin, is that in the cybersecurity space, attackers are going to have access to a certain amount of compute capability and AI capability, and you kind of need to match that on the defense side with a equal or greater amount of AI capability to be able to detect the vulnerabilities before an attacker can exploit them. And so there's a little bit of whoever is able to deploy enough compute power is going to be the one that prevails, at least in the short term, right? And so there's a bit of a proof of work thing there as well from the cybersecurity or even the innovation perspective, if you want to think about that, right? So because ideas are infinite, but the ability to actually put them into practice, into production, that might be the thing that starts to get rate limited by access to compute and access to be able to scale these things up. So I really think that if, especially when you say building, that utilize AI, learn it, learn how to integrate it with your processes, use it to analyze your code base and find bugs, find logic issues, find things that can be exploited to improve your cybersecurity, and use it to build things that people will use. And not everything in Bitcoin has to come back to something that settles on chain, right? There are a lot of ways to build educational resources, to build websites, to build apps, wallets, things like this. And so, yeah, this is, I think, the revolution in building.
Yeah. And what's your take towards the mass surveillance aspect of the big tech AI companies? Obviously, they, like, everybody's jumping to cloud and OpenAI, ChatGPT, yada yada yada. But like under the hood, if they were using Google, Facebook, and all those big tech companies to kind of keep an eye on us and build data sets around how we live and all that. I'm pretty sure that AI is going to be harvested uh, exactly the same way, and basically it's going to be a data mine of ideas, approaches, probably confidential information as well, because people just post stuff in. Do you have any opinions on how this might develop?
Just be careful. Don't rely on any one provider, and yeah, assume that they're watching what you're doing, and look into open AI models, not to confuse with open AI, but models that you can run yourself on your own machine. Get some compute capability. Like I have a decently powerful computer that is capable of running some of these models. I would love to be able to afford one of these dedicated AI chips in the future here. Let's see. It's just something to be aware of, but maybe human ingenuity will outpace the panopticon, or at least give us some kind of edge. I think even the authorities don't know what they're dealing with here,
Of
and
course they don't.
controlling technologies that are out in the world is a bit difficult. So I'm
I'm, I'm
I'm
I agree that the establishment doesn't know what this technology is capable of. But at the same time, when I see Sam Altman, Elon Musk, and Larry Ellison, and all these guys next to Donald Trump, I've got a feeling that they might be cooking something behind our backs there.
Just stay
Yeah.
vigilant, stay aware, be cautious.
Yeah, but I like the fact that what you said about not relying too much on one single platform. I think this is key here. It's good to learn different, to play around with different ones, and don't share too much if you don't have to. That's probably a golden rule for every Bitcoiner. Amazing, cool. So the last point that I put for us to discuss, and it's something quite loose, but I think it's valid because of the current market sentiment as the Bitcoin communities. It's something that me personally gives a lot of hope Otherwise, if I was the only Bitcoiner in town, I would be probably on the edge of giving up, maybe being depressed or saying, hey, maybe I wasn't so smart with that Bitcoin thing. It was 125, 126, now it's 60. Yeah. Like from my perspective, what communities help, a lot to kind of get your understanding of what's going on, and just remind you that this is a long-term plan, long-term game. And I want to go back to conversations we had actually in your lovely co-working space in Helsinki, which I think is a blueprint, phenomenal place. Like every capital in a place like that. Tell us a little more. How did this happen? Because that's a community hub for the Bitcoiners in Finland.
Well, the funny thing is we actually it's a part of the marketing budget for BTCHEL originally, was that we wanted to figure out some way of getting advertising space, and we realized it was cheaper to rent a storefront than it was to get advertising space on a busy street, right? And so for the same money, we got a physical space that first of all just acts as our office, but also gives people room to come and to work. We have I would say four good spaces for teams to go sit, and then we built a podcast studio as well. Our CEO Remu has a really good podcast Finnish language called Bunkari, like in the bunker. Basically, that's really good, and he's getting a lot of good guests on and all this, and maybe I'll start doing some podcasting from there again if I pick that up again, and so we've got a lot of benefits to having this hub, and making the physical space and having that available is huge. And I mean, as long as we can keep it up, we're going to do so, and I think it's really valuable for the community and everything we're doing in Helsinki. I mean, it's my new home, right? And I intend to stay here for the long haul, and so that's what I'm trying to do to give back to the community. And I've appreciated their embracing me as the one non-Finn in the team, but I'm doing my part, I think.
Uh,
Sorry, man. I don't know if it was me or it was you. I was losing you there, but I missed the whole last couple of things. I'm sure you said very nice things about me, though. So thanks for that. Oh, Are, was it you or was it me? Are you back or
You're
am I
back.
back or
You're
what is
back
it?
now. You're back now. I was just gonna ask the question: what's the best place for people to find you? And I pulled a quick ticker. Look, tell us how can people follow up and reach out.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Beyond what you have at Luke the Wolf at Bitcoin Infinity Show, just defendingbitcoin.com is the place to go. You can find all the information about the book and everything that I'm going to be able to put out there for you. So, looking forward to seeing you in person next time. I hope it's in Helsinki, but if not, I'll have to make it over to Madeira. Thanks for this.
Likewise. Take care, buddy. All the best.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
Cheers. Okay, and stream.